Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a review of the Pwnage Ultra Custom AMBI, a mouse unlike anything you have ever seen before. You might be looking at it like, what? This looks very basic. But no, it's the back of the mouse. That is what you have never seen before. It actually has an adjustable sensor position. I'll show you how it works right now. Sorry for the shaky Adderall hands. So basically they give you a little screwdriver, you loosen up some screws in the back of the mouse, and then you can literally just adjust the sensor position to wherever you please. Look at that. Innovation. Right there. I'm not gonna lie, usually when a mouse comes out with a new feature like this, it's usually very finicky and does not make much of a big deal. But I have to give Pwnage credit for really implementing this well. Not only does it change the sensor position, it also slightly changes the weight balancing, which is something I'm going to get into. This mouse is a little brick as well, if you did not know, coming in at 80 grams. I mean, not a brick, but sort of heavy for 2022 standards. But you got to realize it's AMBI. It has side buttons on both sides. I'm sure this sensor position mechanism adds some weight. But yeah, I found it really cool. If you've watched my reviews, you know that sometimes I'll talk about sensor position. I really don't like a low feeling sensor position. It just feels like if the mouse is tracking below where my thumb is placed, it feels somewhat off. So I like having the ability to customize it with this new Pwnage Ultra Custom AMBI, which I did buy for myself. I don't want it to seem like this is a review unit. I'm like, yo, this thing's freaking awesome. Look at it. It's sensor position. No, like I'm going to give you an honest review of this mouse. But of course, since the adjustable sensor position is probably the main selling point on this mouse, I did just want to talk about it first. In terms of personal preference, which is 100% what sensor position comes down to, I like mine just a bit over the center. I've tried all combinations with it at the top, at the bottom, and in the middle, and I just like slightly above the middle. I noticed on the GPX, the sensor position is slightly above the middle of the mouse as well, so maybe that's just what I'm used to from my main mouse, or maybe it's what I prefer. Regardless though, my experience with this mouse and really all aspects of the sensor were perfect. It's using a 3370, but the tracking felt excellent. They do say they're using an updated MCU, so I guess their early batches of wireless mice were not really up to the same level that their new ones are, but yeah, I was really happy with the sensor on this mouse. Being able to fine-tune the sensor position to something that you know you like is nice. Okay, but moving past sensor position, there's actually a lot to talk about because this is a completely new shape from Pwnage as well. But the first thing I want to talk about is just this coating, because if you have not noticed, this thing picks up sweat and moisture like no other. Like, I promise you, my hands are not moist right now, but this mouse would fucking tell you otherwise. This thing is crazy. The coating is very good for performance, to be honest. It's not slippery in your hand, but when you take your hand off of this mouse, it is going to look sickening. And yeah, the coating is just horrible with sweat and oils. I cannot emphasize that enough. But thanks to this coating, you can Minecraft drag click, which I guess does make up for the horrible appearance that this mouse is going to have. So yeah, note that as well. Moving past the coating, I want to talk about the general build of this mouse because it does kind of have a lot going on. And regardless, I still think that the build is solid. There's no side flexing, creaking, rattling. But there is a small issue with the modular shell. The same issue I had on the Gamebition's mouse. Not to the same extent, though, where I'm claw gripping, and I put some pressure, and I just hear like a little pop. And I don't want it to seem like this is a game-breaking issue, but if the future of mice is going to have these modular shells, you do want it to feel exactly as good as a mouse without a modular shell. Like, your GPX isn't going to pop when you just apply a bit of pressure to the sides while claw gripping. So I'm just simply trying to hold companies to a standard that will end up in higher quality products because it is a minor nitpick, not going to be game breaking, but could be improved upon. This is the ultra custom mouse, so you can get whatever shells, whatever colors, whatever accents you want. But mine is just all black, looking very basic. I do like this old-fashioned looking DPI button. It's just kind of quirky. But now moving on to the shape of this mouse, because it's a new one, and it's a shape that I think some people are going to like a lot, honestly. So the way I would describe this is a slightly larger, much flatter G-Wolves Hottie S. You could also maybe even say slightly smaller Superlight. Yeah, this is definitely a medium-sized mouse made for claw grip, very flat sides. since it is the AMBI mouse, there are side buttons on both sides, but like the old GPX, you can put on low profile buttons that don't click in if the side buttons on the other side are causing you an issue. These actually did not cause me an issue before I swapped it out. But once I changed it, I was like, wow, now it's like there's no side buttons on the right side. So they got the ambidextrous design right. The only negative that I guess would come with it is the increased weight of the switches on the side that you aren't going to use. But at the end of the day, like, what is that, like 1 or 2 grams? It's not going to kill you. Anyways, getting back to the shape, I do think that this is an extremely safe shape. Regardless of your hand size or grip style, I think you'll be able to pull something off, unless you have super large hands and plan to palm grip it, I guess. But with 20 by 11 centimeter hands and claw grip, the shape is hard to directly compare to anything else because the hump profile, you would think maybe it's close to a Zowie S2, but since the mouse doesn't flare out, it almost feels like a block in the back of your palm. It's not a rounded shape whatsoever, so when I said it's like the super light earlier, I meant in terms of size, not in terms of in-hand feeling. Just wanted to clarify that. And yeah, if you're just looking for what is a truly ambidextrous mouse, it's going to be safe in terms of where you can position your fingers to get a solid grip of the mouse, but it's not going to be a shape that you're going to naturally just think, wow, this is the pinnacle of mouse design. No, it's kind of just like it's a canvas that allows you to grip it as you please. That being said, though, I think that this shape is good. It's short, it's wide, and I'd say mid to high profile, but just a very unique feeling hump. Now, moving on past shape, I'm going to talk about the weight. Like I said before, with the full solid shell design, it's going to weigh 80 grams. You can make it a few grams lighter if you use the honeycomb shells, but I would not recommend ordering a Pwnage mouse without the solid sides because the holes they use are just too large and it feels terrible, honestly. So yeah, 80 grams on a mouse that is not exactly large, coming from something like a super light or anything, I would say, in that below 70 gram range. It's going to feel heavy, no doubt about it. The weight balancing on it, really regardless of how you have it configured, is going to feel solid. It's not catered towards one direction. And honestly, in my case, after a few days of use, I forgot about the fact that this mouse was a higher weight than the rest of the mice that I generally use. And you can adjust to the weight like this, especially if you just combine the mouse with a speed pad or something to kind of offset that difference. You're going to be perfectly fine with the weight. But 80 grams in 2022, that's definitely above what people generally expect. But as I said before, lots of things in the design of this mouse that add to that weight, and you can get it lighter, like I mentioned. In really all instances of tracking and flicking, just moving the mouse around like a spastic, I don't think I was held back by the slightly increased weight. So yeah, no issues with that. But moving on to now the clicks and the side buttons. The main clicks are using Kill 8.0 switches, and it's honestly kind of insane. This is the most variance I've ever had in click feel and sound. It feels and sounds like Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 are just completely different switches, and it's not going to be an issue that really breaks the mouse in-game once again. It's just a weird and completely different feeling between the main click and the right click. And the right click is the one that feels weaker by a long shot, and that's an issue that I've had with Pwnage mice for a while. Once again, the removable fucking clicks. Wow, it's lower quality. Who could have guessed? So not really anything out of this world in terms of click design. The Kill 8.0s are not a heavy implementation, that medium amount of actuation force. I had no issues spam clicking these for editing in Fortnite or just any instances, honestly. The response on them felt really good. There is an adjustable debounce time slider in the software, so for the Minecraft drag clicking kiddos, God bless you. Now moving to the side buttons, these really surprised me because there's very little quality issues like pre-travel, post-travel. They're just a crispy, good implementation of side buttons that I had no problem spamming. They're in a great position. It was, like I said, surprising, shocking, some could even say, because it's just rare for mice to have good side buttons, especially when they're just an aspect that a lot of companies seem to enjoy cheaping out on. So giving Pwnage credit for the solid feeling side buttons. What to talk about next? I guess since the mouse is blinking red, I can talk about the battery. The battery life is nothing extraordinary. In around 2 weeks, I have had to charge this mouse twice. Well, I'm gonna have to charge it again, so it does seem like it lasts around a week on a charge. That is with the RGB on, though. I just can't be asked to turn the RGB off, even though there's like a bottom switch where you can do it. Whatever, bro, whatever. So the battery is not piss poor like Glorious Mice, but it is nothing insane like Logitech or Final Mouse. Just somewhere in the middle on the poorer side in terms of battery life. The adapter situation, USB-C cable adapter, then the dongle. Very basic at this point if you've used a mouse in the past 2 years or so. And that really covers all of the features aside from like the scroll wheel and the skates. The scroll wheel is just a very basic, somewhat low quality feeling wheel. Doesn't make too much noise, decently defined steps. And the stock skates, pretty solid. They perform well on every pad. They're not extraordinary. An aftermarket option like Tiger Ice would probably perform better, but for PTFE stock skates, not worth complaining about, honestly. And that's gonna be basically all for the review of this mouse. It does seem steeply priced at $120. You do, of course, get the adjustable sensor position, which some I'm sure will call a gimmick. Like I said earlier in the video, I think it's cool. I think having control over that is something that you really can't complain about, especially when it does not cause any issues. You will be able to notice a clear difference if you get this mouse. Just what I would recommend, put it all the way at the bottom, then all the way at the top, and just notice the differences. When it's at the top, the sensitivity will feel faster, movements will feel sharper, while if the sensor is at the bottom of the mouse, I personally notice movements feeling more floaty, and especially vertical flicks just not going how I would expect them to go, because like I mentioned, I prefer the sensor to line up with my thumb, and lower sensor positions do not do that. So it's going to be personal preference. It's definitely something that you can experiment with, find what works best for you, but it's not going to be something that you just completely don't notice unless you have like nerve damage or something. But that's going to be all for the review. If you want more info than you could possibly desire on sensor position, I'll leave a link to this research paper that was actually done on optimal sensor position. You can read through it on your own. And this is honestly the closest a new mouse release in 2022 has come to the seal of approval. Obviously has that very cool feature going for it, but the full package at $120, it's not something that I just strongly recommend everybody to buy. It's nothing I'm going to be coming back to, but if you want a very flat, non-rounded shape for claw grip, don't mind the 80-gram weight, and just want that adjustable sensor position, I say go for it. But if all you care about is a great performing wireless mouse for the price, there are already top performers like the Viper Ultimate, GPX, even the old G Pro Wireless, which is a true AMBI mouse, that are on sales that just make them a better value than the Ultra Custom AMBI. But yeah, the Pwnage Ultra Custom AMBI, definitely a mouse that actually does something different, which is really surprising because mice aren't doing that anymore. Everybody's playing it safe. Everybody's doing lame shit. This isn't lame shit. So you got that going for you, Pwnage. But that's going to be all. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Very long-winded video. I apologize. Just kind of chilling, bro. Kind of chilling. Like and sub. Peace.